going to do another tying DVD, but what we're going to aim this fly at is actually fishing very, very deep water. This fly is going to be tied in such a way that you can dredge this fly down 60, even 100 feet, depending on what fly line you're using. It's so heavily weighted that you could actually make this fly and throw it off a 10 kilo spin rod. Oh, well, say a 6 kilo spin rod, but it is pretty heavy. It's not for the faint-hearted. If it hits your rod, it will break your rod. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take an SL12S hook from Gamakatsu. It's one of the best hooks you can use for fly fishing. It's a 6/0, and what we're going to do is we're going to add to the nose of that one of these jumbo cones from Taiwan. Yep. You'll notice that it's hollowed out in the back. Now in that back section there, we're actually going to put lead and make it heavier, because what we want this fly to do is we want it to sink. We want it to sink head first. Alright, so what we're going to do, simply, they're made to go on 6/0 hooks, so the barb will fit easily through the nose of it. Just stick it on the front like that. So we're going to take flat wax nylon from Danville's, very strong thread. I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to push up on the cone, and when I wind this bed of thread, it's going to start inside the cone like that, right? And then I'm going to wind it forward. And I'm only going to wind it forward for probably a distance of about the length of the eye here behind the cone. I don't want too much area back there. Now what we're going to take is a fine flashaboo. This is fine flashaboo. We don't need much. With this fly, less is more. The more material you put on this hook, the more it's going to hinder it going down, right? So we're only going to take probably 8 strands of flashaboo. We're going to double it over. Right, now I'm going to check the length of this. Right, it's a little bit too long, so what I'm going to do, it's the right amount of bulk. I am going to cut a little bit off here because I just want it to cover the hook. I'm going to slip it with my finger, so now it's tapered. I'm going to double it around the thread here. I'm going to put it in both sections in one hand here. I'm going to keep the flash on my side, as we've explained heaps of times before, and I'm going to take the bobbin across the top, and it will go directly on top of the hook, and you'll see it's slightly behind the end of that cone. I'm only going to tie back with 6 wraps, right? And that'll cover my hook shank nicely, and it'll give it a pearl belly, although I think when it gets down to 100 feet, doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it's got some action. Alright, I'm going to rotate the fly up the other way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some .035 lead, right? I'm going to take some .035 lead. Always use a measurement here, something off your vise. My measurements are half the length of the vise, the length of the shank, the whole length of the vise. Now for this fly here, what we're going to do is we're going to use the distance between inside the knurl and the start of that spring, because I found with that much lead, it's still castable on a fly rod. Alright, straighten it out. I'm going to take the lead in one hand, right, and I'm going to simply put my thumb against the cone, and I'm going to wind it backwards so it'll go inside the cone slightly. Make a little mound. I'm going to stick it up inside that cone. I'm going to take my fingernail, so I'm going to push it right up into the end of that cone, right? What will happen is the little knob that's made by this flashaboo, like it's tied in underneath and then has a sharp edge. Well, once you push the lead past that sharp edge, it'll just drop into the front of the cone. Now take your fingers right up against the cone and put a few tight wraps to hold the lead up in there, okay? And you'll see that's starting to get, locked into place already. Mind you, this is a big heavy fly, so we're only casting this fly on 12, 13s, 15 weights. It's not a fly for the faint-hearted. Now what we're going to do, is we're going to take some bucktail, right? We're going to make a tail on this fly. Now, bucktail is one of the best materials that you can use in a fly like this, because what we're trying to get this fly to do by putting lead in the nose, right, by putting lead up in the nose here, is we want the fly to head dip like that, right? Now, if we have the lead up in the nose and we can put some buoyancy back here, the buoyancy will actually help to lift the arse of the fly, so it will assist the lead to point it nose down. Alright, most important fact with these, a fact that I learned when I started tying Dan Blanton's flies, and I really like his flies, and he uses that to give action. He uses buoyancy and weight to give his flies action. Alright, we'll tie one of his flies one day. Alright, so we're going to take some bucktail. Now I want this thing to be buoyant on the arse end, so what I'm going to do is take the bucktail from down here. This is the stuff that people like to tie with. This is the stuff that has most of the buoyancy, but it's the hardest to tie with. So take off some bucktail. Take a generous clump of this stuff, because I'm going to hold this and I'm going to strip most of the bulk out of this. I want the longest, thickest fibres for this job. Right? Now, as we've seen before, you probably can't see with my t-shirt, we're going to hand stack. Can you see it there? Alright, I'm going to hand stack it to make it neater. Alright, like that, just to get the tips a little bit better. Alright, now I'm going to come in with my vice hand and I'm going to create the length of my fly, and that's quite a nice length of fly. Won't have too much troubles with that tail wrapping, and there'll be enough fibre on there to actually give it heaps of action when it gets down deep. So measure it with your bobbin hand, swap over to your vice hand, and then trim it off. Now what we're going to do with this bucktail is we need to get inside the cone. So we're actually going to come in the side of the cone. I'm going to rotate it up on top of the hook. Now, because it's on my side of the hook, I can do one wrap of thread, two wraps of thread, pull down, and those fibres will be directly up on top of the hook. Tie forward to the lead, and then pull the hair down beside the shank of the hook. Now, you can see how it's starting to stand up because we've used the really hollow fibres down here. So what you need to do is tie back with increasing pressure till you get to the point at where you started. Find out which way the thread's turning, assist it. So now it's gone flat, and now what we're going to do is just snug that hair down into place, and it'll go straight along the shank of the hook. Increase your pressure coming forward and tie it off. Make it neat, because when it glues, it'll be there for good. And next what we're going to do is take some more fine flashaboo. Not many strands, remember less is more. So we'll take about 6, 7 strands, maybe 8 strands, cut it up near the hank. We're going to double it over. And now what we've got is the length we're going to tie in. But as you can see, it's not very long. So as we've shown you in other flies, what we're going to do is grow it by slipping the fingers. Now, this is the important thing about this, right? Is I need to stagger this flash from here all the way out to here, right? The only way to do that, and the reason I want to do that, is because you'll notice that this is going to be tied in tiers. The first stack is this long, which adheres to the rule that if you tie something on behind the eye of the hook, it cannot extend past the bend of the hook more than the gape of the hook. So this bit here is actually going to help support everything else. This one here is going to push on top of that bucktail from the other side. So what I'm going to do is put one long strand out this side, which will leave a short strand on the other side, which will taper it right from here all the way out, which will make this a lot better support. The reason I put it on this side is because when I put it together like that, right, and I come over the top, it's actually underneath, and that's where you want it. You want it underneath, supporting the strands on top, right? So now we're going to tie back, decreasing the pressure as I get to the rear tie-in point, come forward, and then increase the pressure going forward. There you go. And you can see it's tapered all the way through. We take a bit of gold. I like gold when you get down deep. Gold's one of those colours that we should use more of. But once again, you don't need a lot. You just need a little bit just to give a bit of a look-see at it. Double it over like we did the last one. Doesn't have to be neat. Just has to be there and tied in correctly. Stretch it. Stretch it on the other hand. Once again, same thing. One short, one long. pull it up, it'll come up in together. Tie it in, don't worry about bloody bits that are hanging out, you know, you cut them out with a pair of scissors. Come forward, lay it down, trim it off the full length. Now come forward again and stop just back from your tie-in area, right? Because what we're using is the rear, this really thick bucktail. If you put too much pressure on there, it all goes skeezicks, which is not really good. Here we're going to take some pink bucktail. You can see we've butchered this one, but we'll take it from right down the bottom because that's where we want it from. Right, so cut heaps out because you'll throw a fair bit of it away. What you want is the long strands, you want all this stuff that's out here. That's a bit better. Right, hand stack it so it's a bit neater. Right, measure it with your bobbin hand. Come in with your vice hand so you can then trim it. Then slide it into the back of the cone. Should you get a view from up here? Yep. Right. Rotate it up. One wrap, two wraps, and you'll see it's not square. Pull down, twist up, and it's right directly on top of the hook now. Tie forward with increasing strands. Now you'll see how it's gone skeezicks. It's all up in the air. That's because we put too much pressure on this rear thread here. So what we're going to do, bobbin's twisting that way, we'll give it a bit of added help, which flattens the thread. Remember, this is flat wax nylon. I'm going to grab all that hair, we're going to tie with increasing pressure backwards. Now we've got that hair there, now we're going to decrease the pressure and just tie it back like that. Now come forward, increasing the pressure now as you come forward. See that hair is sitting down. It's very, very coarse hair, but what we've got that in there for, remember, is to give buoyancy to the back of the fly. That'll lift the back of the fly to assist the lead head to drop vertically. Right. Now the next thing we're going to do here is put a collar on this. Just, you know, it's just something to give added action. It'll be all legs and stuff sticking out here that'll fold back. As you strip the fly, it'll fold back and then hopefully it'll stand up a bit. You know, it'll get this flowing motion. What we're going to use for that is a new product that we've been carrying called UV Polar Chenille. The one I'm using on this is UV Copper, which I reckon is pretty good. It's a straight strand, right, like that, with hairs sticking off it, a mixture of copper, looks like pearl, and the pearl is UV pearl, so quite an interesting product. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this UV chenille, cut off the end of it. Now what we're going to do is tie it right up into the back of the cone, like that, tied back. Remember, don't put too much pressure on these back wraps because it'll destroy all the nice work you've done with the bucktail. Now come forward with increasing pressure, right up behind the cone head. Now, simply wind this on like you would a feather. It's just brilliant stuff. So wind it over the top. What I like to do is take all of those fibres and pull them back, like that, wind over the top, that's it. Wind it forward, nice and neat. Doesn't have to be fast, just has to be nice and neat. If you keep it going on the edge of itself all the time, it'll actually push itself in behind the cone head, and will fill that gap up nicely. There, right? Rightio. You can see now how that is filling up that head very, very nicely. Right, it's probably too much, right? So now what we're going to do is stop underneath the fly, and I'm going to take the polar chenille forward. I'm going to take the thread around underneath to lock that off, right? Don't worry about catching some of those fibres because you can always pull them out before you go further. Alright, so we got that there now. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to take all of those fibres and pull them back. I'm going to push my fingers. Now you probably need to look here. I push my fingers right up against that cone, so see what it's doing? It's pushing that thread in hard in under behind the cone. Right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand whip finish this one, just for the sake of hand whip finishing it. Right? A lot of people want to learn how to hand whip finish, so what you do is give yourself plenty of thread, come in from behind the thread and make a triangle. Alright, I'll do that again. Bring your hand in this way. Hand in this way. I'm going to rotate my hand around to make a triangle. Right? Now what I'm going to do is hold all of that material back, push my fingers right up against the head, and I'm going to do 6 hand whip finishes. Rightio, I'm going to pull that thread back nice and tight. There we go. Alright. Got another bloody reef killer. This is a big heavy fly, right? It's not to be cast on a 6-weight or anything stupid like that. So what we're going to do now, we want to glue this fly, and the only glue I've found, which is probably the best glue to use for this, Softex. Alright? So the reason I like Softex is because it'll flow right inside all those wraps of lead and actually glue the wraps of lead inside the cone head. So you just simply keep dropping Softex in there till such time as the head's full. Great little fly. You can fish this 60 to 100 feet down if you want, as long as you're using a fast sinking line, of course. But you can't cast these things too far. Actually, you can tie them up for your kids, smaller in fact, on little 1/0s and 2/0s and size 2 hooks. Exactly the same tie, and you can have them throwing them on their spin sticks instead of bloody buying soft plastics and everything else. You know, they can make it at home. It's really easy. We're going to take a heap of these up to Claremont. Awesome. So, have fun tying them. I'll see you on the water.